Wondering if we can get into some trouble tonight.
Good morning, fellow flows, and welcome back to another Bursting with Energy. If you are new to the channel, welcome. This is where we talk about cost-free tips on how to increase your energy in all areas of life. So today we're specifically going to be talking about mindset and self-image. And I have our guest, Chloe, here with me, who is a self-image coach. So I'm really excited to be doing this episode with you guys. Make sure to like, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe so you guys get the most out of the channel. And let's start with Chloe. I hope you guys are ready. Hi, Chloe.
Hello.
How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm like super excited to be
Me
here.
too.
So thank you.
She has a lot of good gems. She has a podcast specifically, but we're going to go more into that as we talk about her. So we'll start with you. Tell us what you do exactly and how you got here.
Yeah, so I am, you said self-image coach. So yes, I do a lot around self-image, but I call myself a mindset coach. Mindset coach, I work with millennial women. And I'm also the founder and host of the Self-Image Experience podcast, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
How I got here, kind of a long story, but I'll give you like the most concise version that I can.
Okay.
I think it always starts with some type of journey, right? Yes, yeah, we're all on some type of journey. And so, yeah, it started in like my early 20s, and I just kind of had come out of school and I had studied and I was working in my career, and I had this feeling that like something else was supposed to be there. It was like, I don't know how to describe it. Like the best way I can describe it is just like I had this feeling that there was something else out there, like something bigger, something exciting, and it was a good feeling, but I knew that what I was doing was not the right thing. And so yeah, like I just didn't know what that was. And so when you don't know what that is, it makes it hard to kind of figure out your journey there. And so you feel a little bit lost, but at this point it's like exciting, it's new. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna figure it out. But I ended up, you know, trying to look for this thing that I didn't know what I was looking for in like so many different areas. And I'm like, okay, it's this job, so I gotta find something else. Maybe it's the office I'm working, I'll try different offices. And then, you know, that really didn't work, so I was like, okay, maybe it's where I'm living. So I moved a bunch of times, tried different cities and places, and I was like, yeah, well, like these are better, but I'm still feeling that feeling. So I'm like, okay, I gotta look somewhere else. So I was like, maybe it's my relationship. So I changed those a couple times, you know, just going through all the things. And I'm like, you know what? No, none of this is working. I have to get fit. I was like, it's my body. Like I need to go on this like health journey. And you know, then I went down that path, and it was like, okay, so all these things, like I was bettering, I was changing, and I was growing, but like I still had that feeling. I'm like, okay, the answer that I'm looking for is not here. And so that actually ended up going over like the majority of my 20s, like until I was maybe like 26-ish. And after searching for like so long for this feeling and not finding it, you end up feeling like frustrated and like defeated, and just kind of like that excitement that once was is now kind of dwindling, and it's like, it's not a good feeling anymore.
And you start to feel drained.
Yeah, drained, and like that's a perfect way of saying it, and just like not good anymore. And so once you start feeling not good, you feel frustrated and defeated and drained, then you're kind of attracting that. And so then I was at this point in my life where I was unhappy. I was in a bad relationship. I wasn't happy with, you know, what I was doing, and I just really wasn't feeling fulfilled. And so I woke up one day and I'm like, who is this person? Like this is just so far connected or like disconnected from what I thought was going to be, you know, where I was at, and like who I am, and like what I'm doing, and how I would be feeling. And it was just so far from that. So I was like, something has to change, and it needs to change immediately. And obviously all the things I was doing were not working. So I came across a podcast and a book, and that kind of like opened things up to like the whole personal development world. And then there I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. Like then I just like took a deep dive into personal development, courses, books, podcasts. Like I started working with mentors and coaches and networking with people. And finally, like late in my 20s, I was like, oh my God, I finally found that answer. And it was in the last place that I would have ever looked, which was, you know, once I finally looked inside of myself. And I was like, okay, I have to turn inward. Ta-da, here's that answer. And so long story short, through that whole journey and that process, I figured out like, oh my God, like this is it. This is the answer. And so once I finally made that distinction, I was like, that's it. I was like, I want to help other women to kind of go through that journey and help them find that for themselves. Because I think a lot, like, we don't learn how to do that anywhere. I mean, there's places, but you have to search for them. And you have to find that, and you have to come across that through your journey. So, yeah, I was like, there's so much power and impact in doing that. And it all comes down to that. And so I was like, that's what I need to do. So I became a coach, and I started my podcast, and that's kind of how I got here.
I love it. I love it because we're smiling and stuff, but it must have been really frustrating. And she had to go through different stages, right? And a lot of us, that's scary for us. We're like, we have to do this, we have to change this, we have to do that. And we're like, do I really want to do that? And so you end up staying in something that is not really for you because you don't want to take that first step. So I think it is brave of you that you went through all those stages and you checked it, and you even reached rock bottom where you felt drained, and you were like, you know what? The last place where I thought it was going to be is where it was. And so sometimes we give up, and it's actually the last place where we think it's going to be. So don't give up, guys. Keep going through it. Look how she's smiling. Look how amazing she looks. And she has her podcast. Check it out. It is really good. So thank you for sharing that. I really like that. It's quite a journey.
Yeah, and there is one thing you said there that, like, you know, you hit those rocky parts and, like, don't give up, because a lot of people, they take that as like, okay, there's just, you know, I didn't find that. And that, like, I love that you said that, because that's one of the biggest things is even if you don't find it, you have to keep going, because you will find it at some point. It might be a year, it might be your entire 20s like it was for me, and it might be, you know, it might be more than that, but like there is no set timeline, and everyone's journey is independent and unique. So you just keep going.
Honestly, what I say to myself, there's no point in going back to the place where you felt like you were lost. You might as well you already went through that journey of searching, so you might as well keep searching until you find it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna go more into what you do specifically. So you guys know how I tell you your biography creates your biology. Your story creates your reality. She talks about that as well. So what does that mean?
Yeah. Can you repeat how you kind of frame
your
that?
biography? So your biography, you know how you write your story, creates your biology. Which is,
like your physical being.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. That's different. I've actually never heard that, but it's the exact same thing, right? Like, your story is essentially the beliefs that you hold about yourself. So your biography, who you believe you are, like why you believe you are the way you are, like everything to do with you and your life and what you experience. That is your story, and the story is made up of those beliefs. And so what I think a lot of people don't realize is that we are completely in control of that. Like, yes, we are the main character of our story, but we're also the author, and I don't think that many people realize that. And because of that, you know, we end up living off of our subconscious, which is the majority of what we're being powered with throughout our days. And that really, it shapes our experience. And if we are not intentionally programming that, you know, we end up with lives that we're not necessarily feeling like we've chosen. And so how the story really creates the reality is what you're thinking, what you're focusing on, what you believe to be true is then being manifested in your physical reality. So, you know, we can take that in two ways, because you can believe a really empowering story, and it might be the same story, but you could spin it in an empowering way that really allows you to move forward and to make it allows you to feel like you have control in your life. Or you can take it in a very disempowering way, and when you do that, it often puts you in that like victim mentality or that victim mode. And really when you're there, you don't feel like you have control. You feel like you're helpless. You feel like there's no choices for you. And that keeps you stuck, and it keeps you in that like limiting belief. So I'm sure you talk about it as well, like the beliefs you hold, those limiting beliefs.
Your programming.
The programming, like it totally is what either holds you back or moves you forward.
I like the example. So I actually listened to our podcast, and you gave an example so about the gym. If you could give them like how you go to the gym, like when you go there to empower yourself versus when you come from a place of hate or fear. So can you explain that exactly so that they understand for themselves what that looks like?
Yeah, so imagine, you know, let's say that you have a goal in mind, and let's say like whatever it is for you, whether you want to, you know, get healthier, lose weight, maybe you want to get healthier and gain muscle, like whatever that is for you, you have some goal, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym. Now, if you are coming from a place of, we'll go to the disempowering state first, if you are coming from a place of lack because you feel like you need to look a certain way because otherwise you're unworthy, or you hate your body, you hate the way you look, and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, like I really just want change and I hate that. We think that because it's true, like human behavior is, it comes down to two things. You're either you're moving towards pleasure, or you're trying to get away from pain. And so you think that the motivation comes from, the hate, I wanted to say
the negative
word,
thought,
but like the negative thought,
yeah.
It's gonna push you, right, and like motivate you to go and do the thing. But the energy behind that is bad, and it feels bad, and it does not feel good. And so there gets to a point where, because you feel like you have to do that thing, otherwise, all of the XYZ things are gonna happen. People aren't gonna love you. You're not gonna love yourself. Whatever. Then it creates resistance, and then you don't want to go, and then it does make it challenging to go, and you feel like you have to and you should, and you get all those.
So you're beating yourself up.
You're beating yourself up, and it feels like crap. And so you might end up even getting the same result, but it's not going to feel good. You're not going to want to stay there. It's not a place where you want to build your whole lifestyle on, right? Yeah. Versus you look at the empowering side of things, and you're like, you know what? And I think I want to say too, because I think on the empowering side, people think, oh, well, if I just accept myself and love myself first, then I'm not going to be motivated to go and do that thing, right?
Because I already love myself.
Because I already love myself, so why would I change, right? But really, it does make all the difference, because if you are coming from a place of love, you're like appreciating your body, your physical body. You are lucky and fortunate enough to have this body that carries you through every day, and you want to thank it by saying, I'm going to move you because you deserve to be moved, and it makes my body feel good, and I'm going to fuel you with good food because it makes you function better, and like I'm just so appreciative that I am fully healthy and functioning and capable of doing that. And so that's what drives you forward, and it does allow you to make change, because the love behind it, if I love myself, then I want myself to be healthy. And so you start taking care of yourself from a very different energy, and it makes all the difference.
That's exactly what bursting with energy is about, guys. Moving forward in that energy, the energy that you decide to go forward with, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is there anything you want to add to that? About your story creating your reality?
Not really. I think that's pretty much it. Like it comes down to a lot of that subconscious programming, but also the choice. And I think that's huge. And just knowing that like we do have the choice to look at it from either side of things. So choose to take an empowering route, because it might feel hard. Like that's the other thing. People are like, okay, well, how do you just do that? Like it takes work and it takes effort, especially in the beginning. If you're so used to that programming, like you said, if you are used to,
if you have
beating
10
yourself
years
up,
of one behavior, then it's going to take time to unlearn that behavior.
Exactly, but the thing is, you learned it. So that means you can unlearn it, and you can learn another thing, because our brains are miraculous, beautiful, amazing, like the most powerful tool in the universe. So they can do crazy, hard things, and that is one of them. So we just have to be intentional and kind of learn to program it in the way that we want.
Love it, in the way that we want. And it can be scary to think, we're the author of our own lives, because sometimes we don't want to be accountable for what happens because we have an excuse or we can blame something. But it is very empowering when you take that decision to be like, you know what, I am the author, and I'm going to write this story the way I want to.
Yeah, because you know what, like I love that. I want to add to that, because it is scary taking that leap. Like that can be very scary for people, especially if you've been doing that for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? Change is scary, but what's scarier is staying in the same place.
Yeah.
Like that, let that fuel you, because staying in the same place for the rest of your life, that might actually end up being scarier than making that change.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go into the next question. How do I know that I'm treating myself with respect? I really liked how she explained it in her podcast, so I'm not going to say anything about this. I'm going to let you go into this.
Okay, that's funny, because I actually have no recollection of how I described that. So I'm going to just give you what I think now, and hopefully that matches.
All right. And if anything, then I'll add to it.
Then please feel free to add. Yeah, a lot of things I say, I'm like, did I say that? I must have said that somewhere, but as long as it's consistent, right?
It's not inspiration.
Oh, totally. It like comes out and then that's it. It's gone.
So whatever she says now is exactly what you need to hear, guys.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so respect, like, how do you know if you're coming from a place of respect or respecting yourself? Respect, what respect is, I think is a great way of looking at it, is it's a deep admiration for someone. And so if you are unsure if what you're doing or what you're thinking or saying about yourself or to yourself or the actions that you're doing, if you're unsure if it comes from a place of respect, then a question, an alternative question to ask is like, is this coming from a place of love? Is this meal that's in front of me, is this coming from a place of love for my body, or is this one? And sometimes it comes down to like the healthy or the unhealthy choice. And now I'm not saying to never eat unhealthy things, but like if you're consistently choosing the one that you know isn't bringing your body health, then that's not choosing love, right? Like that's just choosing a craving. So it can come down to that, or it can come down to the way that you speak to yourself. You might look in the mirror and be like, you know, I think I'm just speaking the truth. Like, I just don't think I look that good today. Like, maybe I could do this or do that. I might look a little better. And you might not think that that's coming from a place of disrespect, but really, if that is not from a place of love, then no, it is not respect. And so it has to be from that place of love. And you've probably heard of this, but an exercise that I love to do, like with myself or with my clients, is think about someone that you really love, like whether it's your partner, it's your best friend, it's your kid, maybe even if you have none of those, which is unlikely, but if you have none of those, even imagine yourself as like the cute little child that you were. Maybe you were like 6 years old. Think about how you would speak to them. Would you say that same thing that you just said to yourself to them? Because no, you probably wouldn't. Like a lot of the times we say these horrendous things to ourselves thinking we're just, you know, telling the truth. That's just how it is.
That's just how I feel.
That's just how I feel, right? But like you get to choose that. And if you were to say that to like some little kid, it would sound ridiculous. Like you would never say that to your best friend. And it's not just that. It's also when you make a mistake. Right? You're like, so many of us are so hard on ourselves and we're like, oh my God, how could you do that? Like, that's so dumb. Like, I should have done better. And like, we think that is even useful to think like that. But really imagine if your best friend made a mistake, you're going to be there and you're going to be like, girl, like, okay, you're amazing. You made this mistake. Like, you can keep going. Like, no one cares. Like, just, you're fine. Like, I still love you. Now imagine if you took that dialogue and like said that to yourself, how much of an impact that would have. And so I think that's a great exercise. If you don't know, or if you're questioning your thinking or your behavior around, is it from respect? Is it not? Just think about that exercise and do that and imagine saying that to someone else.
You can even look at your nonverbals, because if you're talking to yourself like that and you see that you're frowning and you see that you're like contracting, then you know it's not coming from a place of like freedom and release and happiness. If you're smiling and you feel light and bright, then you know it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah, oh, that's so true too, because yeah, that's like we could do a whole other show on like the physical manifestations of these things. But yeah, like checking in with your body and like the tension you hold, right? Like if you are all up in your head, you're not focusing on your body, you're not connected with your body. And so if you are tense and you're feeling like maybe a pit or, you know, something like heavy on your chest, and you check in with yourself, you're like, oh, you know what, this doesn't feel good. Like these are not freedom feeling movements. I don't feel relaxed. I don't feel, you know, good in my body. And so that's another great way of like checking in with yourself and your intuition, because we have a lot of the answers.
We do. But if you're disconnected, then you know you're not going to get those answers sometimes. So
not at all.
Just being, you know, zen with yourself and being like, you know what, I have the answers. Trusting yourself.
Yeah,
you
that's
do talk
big.
about trusting yourself.
I do,
too.
yeah. I mean, it's so important, and I think a lot of us think that we do, but we don't really. Yeah. So now I'm curious though, was that like consistent?
Yeah,
with
it was consistent. You also talked about how like your actions, so if you think you're coming from, so you have all these goals and you think you're coming from a place of respect and honoring those goals, but they don't actually match your actions.
Yeah, okay, yeah, totally, right? Because yeah, we say, that's exactly it. Like if you say, I'm doing this because I love myself, but then your actions are showing something completely different, then you know that you're just saying, it's like when you say affirmations but you don't believe them, right? It's not going to work because you're on two different levels.
Exactly.
So instead of them meeting up, you know, they're just kind of in
aligning.
parallel.
Yeah.
They're not aligning. You're on two different roads. So it has to line up with, you know, your belief, and so you really have to connect with that.
And that's showing yourself a type of respect. You're like, you know,
Yeah.
I am honoring and respecting myself by sticking to this action that shows that I love myself.
Yeah.
So I'll pick the healthy meal.
80% of the time.
Exactly, I like that. Not all the time, because if you're having the healthy meal, you know, 80% of the time, the unhealthy meal is not. It's going to be like you know what, I want this burger today, and I can enjoy it because I know my body is in the shape to actually digest and consume this and get rid of it as waste, as
Right.
it needs to.
Yeah.
It won't stay stuck in your body. All right, how do we prepare for setbacks? Now that we
Okay.
talked about the unhealthy and the healthy, I think it goes well into the,
Yeah.
you know you're going to have down days, you know you're going to have doubt, you know you're going to have those times where you're even maybe negative with yourself. So how do
Yeah.
you prepare for setbacks?
Yeah, and I think that's just it. Like, the first thing is just acknowledging that they are going to come up. Of course, you can't not have them. And that's what's funny about starting these journeys and setting goals and wanting these results in our lives, because we're like, okay, I have this huge goal. I really, really want it. And I want to get there as fast as I can.
Yeah.
I want to get there the easiest way. I want no resistance. I don't want to have any failures, no problems. I want it to feel good. And that's how I'm going to get there. And it's like, you're laughing because you know how far from the truth that
Yeah.
is. Like, that's not how it's going to go.
Do you guys agree? Let us know in the comment section, guys.
Yeah, they're probably all going, yeah. And it's funny because we all do it. Like, I'm laughing because, of course, I am the same way. And no matter how far you get on your journey, you still
I
do
still
the thing.
do that, yeah.
You do, and then you're like, okay, you got to check yourself, and
I
then
want
you're
it
like,
now.
okay. Exactly, but I think acknowledging that they're going to be there is the first thing. Like, you're going to come across them, and you can prepare in a way that, like, depending on what you're trying to do, someone out there has already done it. And so you can kind of look at that. You can do your market research, and you can say, okay, this person did it, they faced these things. This person did it, they faced these things. Obviously, we all have unique journeys.
Yeah.
They all look differently. We're all going to experience completely different challenges. But you can kind of know, like, okay, this might come up, this might be a barrier, this might be a barrier here, this might be a challenge, this might be another thing, and you can write those down, like write them down.
Like a map, I like that.
Yeah, kind of map it out. But the really important thing with that is that we don't hold that to an expectation of, okay, now it's going to be these things, so that as soon as I get there, if it's different, then you're lost again. And you're like, well, now what? I prepared for these setbacks, and they're not the same
It's
things.
like a general idea, I guess.
Yeah, so it just, like, you can prepare in the way that you can think about what might come up, but do not hold on to that expectation. Like, let go of all expectations, because things that you don't prepare for are going to come up. That's the first thing. But the second thing that I would say is even more important is reframing. Like, looking at them as setbacks, problems, failures, that kind of puts it into, like, a negativity space, and it says, like, it's bad. You think, like, when you say that word, it kind of, like, we think, okay, that's something bad, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
happening. But if you reframe that into the challenge or the lesson, that's where it really takes off.
How do you
Because,
prepare for lessons?
right, like, you just show up ready to learn, and it totally
I like
changes the whole vibe, because now you're open to it, and now you're not as scared of it, and you're like, okay, this is actually the opportunity for me to take that challenge and take that lesson, and I am going to get to the result quicker by taking this challenge, because really the only difference between who you are now and who you're going to be when you have that result is that that version of you that's already ahead has gone through those challenges. Those are your level ups. Those are your chances to elevate yourself and to learn and to grow and to really become that person, that version of you that has those results. So you have to go through them, and you just have to look at it in that way. Otherwise, you're going to be, like, stuck.
I love it. See it as opportunities. That's very nice. There's something else that you said about that. So with the first one, sorry, could
Yeah.
you just repeat the first?
Like the first point?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're asking me to go back here. Yeah, so basically just realizing that there are going to be these things that
Challenges.
come up. So you have to know that they're going to come up and acknowledge them, and you just can slightly prepare by looking at maybe who else has done it, what has come up for them, and
I like that.
map it out.
Because it gives like, so she said not to have any expectations with
Yeah.
that, but it also gives you the like, so some of the results, some of the solutions you're going to come up with, they're going to work for different setbacks. So even if it doesn't look exactly like how you mapped it up, one of your one of your solutions or one of your opportunities are going to work for it. And even if it doesn't, it just gives you that opportunity to learn as well. So that's what I wanted to say. So it is a general idea, but I feel like some solutions will fit more than one
Yeah.
of those challenges.
Yeah, you can apply them like in other areas
Yeah.
for sure. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not even just in that you know, journey of getting that result or working towards a goal or whatever. Like when you learn, if you pick one area of your life that you want to work on and you overcome those challenges, the things that you learn, those lessons that you learn, you can apply those to any of the other
Yeah.
areas of your life, and they kind of flow over, and then you start saying like, oh, well, I was on this health journey, but like really it works in my relationships and also in my career and how I handle, you know, situations. And so it really, it spills over to all
Yeah,
the
it
other
does.
areas.
It's like how when I say how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes, I love
use
that.
and you can use it in different situations. I like it.
Yeah.
So we'll change the question to reframe the question to how do we prepare for lessons and challenges?
Yeah.
And let us know at home what you guys think of that as well. I like that. So is there anything, so you went through a few challenges, you went through a few sacrifices, you went through a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you had to sacrifice to get to today
Yeah.
specifically? Because some people think that there's not things that you have to sacrifice or change, that you're not going to be the same person. So I want to know specifically for you,
Yeah.
is there anything that you needed to sacrifice?
Yeah, and I would say yes and no, because yes, sacrifice is giving something up that you value, but in exchange for something else. So obviously, if you're exchanging it for something else, it's something else that you value. And for me, you know, giving certain things up to kind of get to where I have gone, and like through my growth and through my journey, I've given up, you know, instead of going out and using my evenings and weekends to do, you know, fun things or going out or social time or family time, I'm like, no, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna work on my personal growth, I'm gonna work on my business, I'm gonna really hunker down and like just do what I need to do.
Personally, I think reading is fun. So
I mean, so do I, and I was getting there. But like you kind of grow into that, right? Like in the beginning, you're like, ooh, my friends are going to this really fun thing, and my body is like, no, you need to go do this thing. And the other side of you is like, but you also have this other goal, and like you should be, not should, but like if you want to reach your goal, you need to read, you need to learn this, you need to do this thing. And so, yeah, you sacrifice like certain things like that, but really I don't look at it as a sacrifice, because you're doing that energy exchange where I'm foregoing the fun times with my friends and family. Maybe I'm spending my money on this side of things versus on this side of things. Maybe I'd love to go buy a new wardrobe, but like instead I'm going to invest in this mentor, this program, because it's for my growth. And so you sacrifice things, but you also get bigger results on the other side. So yes and no.
it might feel more like a sacrifice in the beginning just because of the conflict in the mind. You're like, oh, was it really worth it? This book is kind of challenging. I could have been dancing right now. So if you let your mind wander like that, then yeah, it's going to really feel like a sacrifice. But if you really let yourself emerge in what you're investing your time in, then it feels less like sacrifice, I guess.
Exactly. And it's always like in that moment, just like stopping, checking in with yourself, and doing kind of like what we talked about earlier, like just checking in, like, is this from a place of self-love, or is this kind of like an urge? This is like an immediate desire. Yes, it would be fun. Yes, I acknowledge that. Like, you don't want to pretend like it's not happening. Like, okay, I'm acknowledging I would rather be doing that maybe at this moment, but I know that this is for my growth, and I know that this is so important, and I really value this too. So choosing that over this is sometimes very challenging, especially for me, because I love being social and going out and like doing fun things. And so sometimes it is harder to choose the book on the couch on a Friday night. But then afterwards, I'm always happy that I did. So yeah.
I love that you use the word urge, because it does go back to what we talked about in Bursting with Immunity, when there's, what are you feeding, right? Is it pathogens? Is it what you're trying to achieve, that health? So it's like, check in with your urges. Is it coming from a place of, you know what, addicted to this, so I want to do this, or is it investing in what you want, your story, the author, the biography that you're creating, and that you're experiencing?
Yeah.
Love it. Was there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty much it for that one. Yeah, just it's a sacrifice, but it's not at the same time, because you're just exchanging. It's like, which thing are you going to choose this time? So you're not really sacrificing. You're just choosing one thing in this moment versus something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it also puts you in a different timeline. So it's like, if you chose this to go out on the Friday night, let's say, it puts you on a different timeline than if you had chosen to stay home and read. And so just imagine, you can visualize. That's what visualization is about, right? Where would that take me if I actually sacrifice the book to go to and go out tonight, versus if I sacrifice going out to read tonight?
Yeah, that's actually a great exercise, and I love that, because if you don't necessarily know, especially when you're dealing with feelings, because your feelings in the moment, they can like totally blind you.
They can.
I mean, as in any area, right? Like I can think of so many situations where you're like, ooh. You're like,
I'm a feeling person, so I definitely know.
Yeah, you're like, my feelings are saying this, and then you're like, okay, but what is this going to bring me? And yeah, you visualize, okay, if I do this thing, where's that going to lead me? Okay, if I do this thing, where's that going to lead me? And it doesn't have to be a long, crazy thing. Like, you don't have to do like 4 hours of journaling and like like visualizations to figure it out. You just kind of quickly picture, okay, this one, obviously, you know, and you just kind of go from there. So yeah.
And you guys know, you know it in your heart.
Oh, like deep down, you know.
You know.
Yeah, you know what you want to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are there any tips that you have for managing your mind that they can take today and then they can start applying to their lives today?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. It's hard to like bring it down to one thing, but I think.
Okay, give us 3 things then.
Okay. I would say first thing, like awareness, which is so unsexy, but like it is, and it sounds so boring and brutal, but like just focusing on knowing where you are and what you want instead of all the things ahead of you, because I think we all get there, but we don't really know where we're starting. And like there's this great analogy of a GPS. Like, okay, I'm going to Montreal today, and I punch it in my GPS, I punch in the address you give me, and it's like, all right, I'm going to bring you there. Where are you starting? And I'm like, ugh, I don't know my address. Like, how? I don't know what to punch in. I don't have it.
I actually really like that.
Well, yeah, because then your GPS is like, well, hello, I'm not really going to be able to bring you there if you don't know where you're at. So it's kind of like that. You need to know where you're at, where you're starting. And so it does, like I said, it's unsexy, but like you just take a moment to sit back and really go through, like, where am I right now in my life? Go through all the areas, or go through just in specifically the area that you're maybe looking to change, if that's what it is, or the results that you want to get. See where you are, check in with yourself. I think that's like first and foremost. If you don't know where you're at, you can't go anywhere. So,
and if you need help with that, I'm here, Chloe's here, so you guys can always
contact
us.
Yeah, and like look for someone look for someone who is doing what you want to do, and that is often a really good place to start, because you can kind of model that and see what they're doing, and that can give you some insight as well. And I know for me in my journey, that's how it started, like mentors, coaches, learning from other podcasts and books, and just seeing like, oh, and you resonate with these things, then you learn. Second thing I would say, and I know it's such a buzzword, but like, if you really, really connect with it, like coming from a place of gratitude, because it brings you that abundance mindset.
It does.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, it's like a buzzword because it's like, oh, everyone says like gratitude and abundance.
It's just because you appreciate what you already have, and appreciating what you already have will definitely multiply and amplify into things that you want to have as well.
Yeah, and you have to, because if you're manifesting these big results in your life, if you're not thankful and grateful for where you're at right now, the universe is like, no, like we're not going to give that to you. Like we're not going to give that to you.
You can't even handle what you have.
Exactly. So why would you think that you can handle more if you're not even appreciative of what you have? Why do you think that you would all of a sudden appreciate when you do have more? So yeah, no matter what it is, coming from a place of gratitude and just figuring out how you can really love and feel abundant in what you already have. So I think you know what? We don't even need 3 things. I think those 2 things are like the main things if you're starting.
Yeah.
Go there.
So where are you starting from? Awareness around where you're starting, and appreciation, gratitude.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, so tell us about your services now.
Yeah, so right now I am working one-on-one with my clients. So that is my main offering right now. I also have my podcast, so I put out a lot of free content. Every Friday, I release a new episode. So, yeah, you can either find me on the podcast, which is the Self-Image Experience
And she has
podcast.
quite a few episodes, I believe 30, almost 40.
39 next week. Yeah, this, what day are we? Sunday. This week is, yeah, episode 40. So that's crazy.
So there's a lot of content for you guys to.
There's a lot of content to go through. So yeah. So yeah, pretty much those two places. I do also have, if you're in the Ottawa area, we're doing our first event. So at the end of January on the 28th in Ottawa, we're doing a little workshop, so alignment and embodiment workshop. So we still have tickets available. So if you're in the Ottawa area, you can send me a message, let me know. But yeah, the best place to find me is on Instagram. You can connect with me there, and yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to add? There's an activity I want to do with you because we don't have participants today, guys. So there's an activity I'm going to do with Chloe. But is there anything that you want to add on mindset or self-image? Nope.
No, I think we've said it all.
We did cover it all.
We covered a lot of ground today. So
we did.
yeah.
I think that was a lot of information for you guys. And you can start applying it today. And if you don't remember, rewatch the episode or go on her channel and on her podcast, and you will find a lot of self-image, confidence content. Or you can watch episodes on my channel as well, guys. So make sure to like and share and subscribe.
All the things.
Yes. So are you ready, Chloe?
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing.
So there was something that you brought up.
Okay.
And this is something that I do with my clients. So I have my little mirror here. I cleaned it, so it should be good. And so this is something that I do with my clients when they're coming from a place of just doubt or being drained and that negative self-talk. So I don't know, maybe I'll start with her and then I'll do mine right after. And so just looking in the mirror and finding that place of brilliance, of finding that place of just zen and love and saying something. It can be anything, just one affirmation that comes up for you. I know it can be a vulnerable place. I'm letting you, I'm asking you to be open right now. We'll both do it. We'll do it together. And just finding that one thing that you can appreciate or that you love about yourself and then just saying it out loud. So immerse yourself in yourself.
Okay. And I'm supposed to look at myself right
yes.
now? Okay.
There's a mirror here too.
So many mirrors.
But this is more so the audience can see the mirror.
Well, this is not going to stay. But
no, I just there's this one. That one will be harder.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the main thing that comes to me, which, like, brings me happiness every day, is looking at myself and just saying, like, you are here, you're alive, and you woke up today, and that's another opportunity to just bring your light into the world and to just enjoy what we have.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn.
Your turn.
There's a lot that comes up for me, so we'll pick one. For me, what comes up, it's actually a lot similar to Chloe, that you are bright, you are light, you are love, that there's a lot that you can do every day, and there's a lot that you can even do in just this present moment, just by being present. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So good. Like, gives me chills. It's so
right?
It's so empowering, you know.
It
and
is.
I think I love that. I love that, and I've never done that exercise like with my clients or anything, or even really myself to that level. And it's so empowering, and I think that can be scary for a lot of people.
It
just
can.
like,
I've seen clients break down like before, and they don't want to do it, and then I'm like, oh, come on, just look in the mirror, especially if they're coming from a place where they don't love like how they look physically, and then I'm like, look beyond that then.
yeah, look to your soul, right? Like, look in your eyes and focus on, like, this is you. Like,
exactly.
This is you, but, like, the inside is really you. So, super
It's all
empowering.
of you.
Yeah.
So just appreciate that, guys.
Always.
So mirror exercise. So if there's anything else that you want to add to what Chloe told us today, then let's try the mirror exercise. Get you a little mirror, or you can always use the mirror in your bathroom and just sit with yourself for 10 minutes and really connect to what's going on inside, in words like we talked about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything else? The floor is yours if you want it.
No, I'm honestly, I feel like we had such a beautiful conversation today, and yeah, we said everything that I would have liked to go over. So no, I think that's beautiful, a beautiful way to end it. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on today. It's been really awesome connecting with you.
Thank you, thank you. I thought it was a beautiful way. Like, this was a good way to start the year because we are January. So I thought just going into 2023 with a self-image and confidence and anything that will put you guys on track with your goals would be awesome. And I met Chloe in October.
I think it was in
The pop
October.
shop. Yeah, the pop shop in October, and I was like, you know what? She would be perfect for the show. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We will be back in 2 weeks. Our episode in 2 weeks is going to be career and passion. So I wanted to stay in that mindset and finish January with that. So that's all, guys. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank
That was
you.
awesome.
Woo!
I loved everything you talked about.
Amazing. Yeah, that was a great conversation.